there are Africans who are offended, who found it rude and disrespectful for the French president to come here on African soil and tell them what to do, how to behave. They consider it offensive and another sign of the French condescension toward Africa. He stood up in front of a room full of Africans and said this.
Excuse me, everybody. Hey. I'm sorry, guys. But it's impossible to speak about culture, to have people like that super inspired coming here, making a speech with such a noise. So this is a total lack of respect. So I suggest, if you want to have...
Some Africans consider it a total lack of respect from President Emmanuel Macron. They see that as the continued infantilization of Africans, a European former colonial master telling Africans how to behave. And they ask the question, do you think an African president would do that in Paris? Or would President Macron do that in the US? So that is the assumed authority that he took here that others maybe would not have, suddenly other African presidents would not do in Europe. And yet.
All right. Welcome to This Week in Africa, your weekly live stream. We talk about all things Africa news. Today, we're talking about French President Macron in Kenya, sparking outrage in a number of different ways. That was just one viral moment from a week full of eventful circumstances, arrests, etc. But before we get into it, let's start with some introductions. So I'll turn it over to my co-host. Before
this comment just cracked me up. But anyway, hi everyone. My name is Gloria Ayo. I'm the founder of Diaspora Station. What we do is we connect Africans through news, history, culture, you name it, we've got it. But always a pleasure joining Joe on This Week in Africa. And I know I've said this before, but in as much as it's a great way to, do what we can to inform the people, I love the opportunity of also being informed by the people, including Joe. So thank you all so much for your great contributions always.
Absolutely. And I am Joe Hatago, founder of Authentic African Media. We help people visit, move, and invest on the continent of Africa. We also want to try to do our best to bridge the gap between those living on the continent and those living in the diaspora. And we do that through sharing information from those who've lived on the continent, who moved to the continent, and who are thriving, as well as telling these stories in these weekly live streams with my creaky chair, these weekly live streams while and letting you know what's happening on the continent. So of course we have this weekly live stream about Africa in general. We have a weekly live stream about Ghana specifically, and sometimes we do stuff on Sierra Leone, which I represent daily. And I am in Sierra Leone at this very moment. So with that, we are going to get into today's story. So as you saw, Emmanuel Macron is in Kenya, or was in Kenya this week for, it was the summit, I can't even remember the name of the summit now, but it was the Africa Forward Summit. That's what it was called. And obviously you saw that particular moment. That was a viral moment. But more importantly, beyond that is France's move into Anglophone Africa after being moved out of Francophone Africa. So there's a $1 billion investment worth of deals that has been announced with President Ruto in Kenya. And he actually met with Ruto, took a lot of pictures, lots of photo ops. So we are going to play a little bit of a video on that story, and then we will have some commentary on the other side.
French President Emmanuel Macron urged more in Africa on Sunday as he prepared to co-host the Africa Forward Summit with his Kenyan counterparts. The first such forum to be held in an English-speaking country, it marks a shift in French policy. Paris has stressed its new outlook as a partnership of equals, with the focus on economic cooperation and investment. French companies are investing in and believe in Kenya's potential. CMA CGM, which has just committed to renovating 2 terminals at the port of Mombasa, a total investment of 700 million euros. Meridiam, which is set to expand the country's second wind farm to the tune of $225 million. Kibeto, and in total, across all the projects, more than 1 billion euros has been committed. Macron and President Ruto signed 11 agreements on Sunday, including investments in transport, agriculture, and nuclear energy.
We understand as African leaders that we too have responsibilities. This relationship is not going to be one-sided. We will be expecting from France as they will be expecting from us. And they will be giving as much as we're giving. That is the win-win, mutually beneficial.
Ruto said both leaders expect the summit to be a turning point towards a better partnership, but he added that Nairobi is nurturing a wide range of relationships, looking neither east nor west, but looking forward.
Neither east nor west, but looking forward. Thoughts, Gloria, on this partnership between Kenya and France? You're on mute.
I have to do that again. I said I'm neither looking left nor right in this very moment, but I'm looking forward right at you, wonderful people. But in all seriousness, looking forward, what exactly does that mean? So I want to juxtapose this video with the video that we started the show with, the one where Larry Madowo was covering what happened at the summit. So Macron is in Africa. Of course, we know he's left the Sahel because the people kicked him out, and every opportunity he gets, he shades the leaders in the Sahel every chance he gets, and basically suggesting to the people that we are the ones for you, we're on your side, and they are not, type of thing, right? The audacity of that. But anyway, you talk about looking forward, you talk about equal partnership, but you're there barking at the people. You're literally talking down to the people, and it's not the first time you have. In fact, I'm going to drop a video on Diaspora Station on this. The pattern of you just going off on people, and I'm like, who are you talking to? But you see, the only reason you would have the gall to do such is because our leaders have sold us for cheap. And it's just so sad because, you wonder, even though in Ruto's language of looking forward, you can tell he's trying to be diplomatic about it, and you're trying to suggest that you're more multipolar. I get all that, but you can't also go against the interest of the people. Let's even forget the leadership throughout Africa. What have the people of Africa told you they want? What have you seen, even in your country, where people came out in the streets, and we'll get to that in a bit, but look at the way you responded or reacted to that. So are you truly doing things in the interest of the people? Or are you doing things to protect your own interests? This is the big question here, Joe. This is the big question.
That is a big question. And the audacity, some people call that caucasity. I've heard that be used to describe folks like him. Look, there's a couple things that I think about this, right? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I was in France at the end of last year, and I'll probably be going back there again this year. And I've gone to France a few times in my life, and it wasn't until the last 6-7 years of my life that I've learned that the entire country is lit because of the exploitation they have of minerals on the continent of Africa. Specifically, previously it was Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso in different ways. And it was interesting to me to see people living so well there, and how people had been living in those three countries I just mentioned, which led to leadership, the leadership changed the way they've had it and the support they have from their people. And juxtapose that with this summit, right? Where France obviously is not getting back into the Sahel, or at least they have to pay fair market rates for the minerals that they are buying and extracting. So now they're looking to other deals in other regions, which we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. This particular summit, I think, when you look at all the different clips and videos coming out of what happened indoors, we'll talk about what happened outside in a moment, but everything that happened inside was a microcosm of the last 150 years since the Berlin summit. You had, a security guard pushing the president of Senegal, right? Because he didn't know he was a president, which is crazy. You had this moment with Macron getting up and yelling at people in the room, which I can understand if you're in the room and you are on stage and you want to be heard. Generally, the MC of the event will ask people to calm down, etc. One of the attendees don't get up and grab a mic and say, "I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah." I mean, it looked like Kanye taking the mic from Taylor Swift, right? Don't want to give it it's not the same level of importance, but I just want to, that it was out of place. It made absolutely no sense. And he felt like he was comfortable doing so because of the stance that he has taken and his country has taken on the continent of Africa. And because of the reception he has given, people are so excited to see him there, even with all the things that have happened elsewhere. Well, there's a lot of videos to get through today. I just wanted to say that based on that video, this deal, I think, is one of those deals that, it further demonstrates how far the people in power are from what people on the ground want, right? They continuously do these deals with foreign nations outside of the continent that line the pockets of very few and continue to create challenges for those that are on the ground, the very people that are meant to really benefit from these forward discussions, as they say. And so and I think this was kind of like an ode sort of to Kwame Nkrumah, forward ever, backward never, something to that effect. I always get that wrong, but it just was, it did not land. And we'll get to what happened outside in the protest as well. But I could have gone through like 20 videos. There's so many videos on what's happened this week. And you can just tell that there is a lack of respect for Africans, but there is a need for African resources, right? And so that's the situation you're seeing in these week's videos. Next, I want to get to Spearhead, who did a video, the page Spearhead did a video, which kind of encompasses a little bit of this. And what they say is Macron lost the Sahel, and Ruto is helping him re-enter Africa. So we're going to play this video from the team at Spearhead, and then we'll have some commentary on the other side before we get on to the next couple of videos on the same topic, because there's a few, and we'll get to them momentarily. So let's do that, and I will have some commentary on the other side, or we will have some commentary on the other side.
Courage to recalibrate the relationship between Africa and France to make it more inclusive.
More inclusive? You mean like how since France has been expelled from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and its influence has been systematically dismantled across West and Central Africa? Inclusive is the French word for pivoting to the Anglophone bloc. Even a child can see through that.
This relationship is not going to be one-sided. We will be expecting from France as they will be expecting from us, and they will be giving as much as we're giving. That is the win-win, mutually beneficial relationship. That relationship that President Macron is now championing, a relationship of equals, is the correct template.
Okay. So, we've heard a good part of that speech earlier, and that response, similar to our response. Any additional thoughts here before we move on to the next video? I just wanted to give some folks a little bit of the reaction so far, because, many people have been reporting on the fact that this has not been a successful trip. It may have been successful in the sense that France is now getting some of the additional things that they want, but in terms of the PR, it has been a terrible PR issue for France. And I think it shows how aware Kenyans are and Africans are of our history and how they're not here for any of this. And I do think the next election in Kenya will probably have consequences based on these decisions that have been made by this current administration. But your thoughts anyway on that additional video that we just played.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear that I am for equal partnership. We've always said my own ultimate preference is for the people of Africa to trade among themselves, do business among themselves, partner among themselves. But if somebody must come from the outside, there has to be a lot of respect. And this is why you have Africans, I'd say Pan-Africanists generally, raiding countries like China, Russia, Turkey. The reason they do that is because even if those countries are not necessarily perfect in a sense, they do treat the people of Africa, or at least they've treated the people of Africa with far more respect and dignity than these other countries have. Back to the video we played at the beginning of the show. You're talking about equal partnership, but you're barking at the people. And there's a reason I'm placing emphasis on the fact that we have no problem with equal partnerships, but there's nothing about this partnership with France that has been equal, not historically, not in present day. You referenced Niger largely powering Paris. And the people in the Sahel had to kick France out because the partnership was unequal. And you still are not even trying to find a way to, make things equal. There are still allegations of things being done to sabotage the Sahel. So there's no equality here. We know you don't care about us. We know. And I have a question for the people in that room who were clapping. Did they hire some clappers to come clap? Like, I don't understand. I've seen some selfies with Kenyans, and I'm just like, it's not to say all Kenyans. It's some Kenyans out there getting so excited. Please, I don't know what these leaders are telling you, Macron, but no, there's nothing equal about the partnership. We're not buying it
at all. So really quickly, I want to play a video of Macron talking and saying he's a Pan-Africanist. I just thought it'd be interesting because this is just part of the many moments that I think people were confused by. So we'll play this and then we'll get into the last video of this block and speaking about this particular summit and what came of it. But I thought we'd play this because it caught me off guard when I saw the video. I was not prepared. I was not prepared for that this day. So pay close attention to the Pan-Africanist president, French President Emmanuel Macron, according to him. Be very clear, that was sarcasm.
I'm used to say I'm a positive Pan-Africanist. I'm not a Pan-Africanist to say this thing doesn't work well or to spoil other situations. I'm a positive Pan-Africanist, like William Ruto.
What? Can somebody tell me what the hell is going on?
I'm used to say I'm a positive Pan-Africanist.
Sorry, I had to play that video because it's just one of many. It was like it was just a list of things over and over and over again that made people scratch their heads and really try to understand what is happening. That was different. Okay, so really quickly, I don't know if you have any commentary on that, but I just wanted to play it quickly.
Oh, I do. Please, Joe, on your next trip to Paris, remind me to send this to you. I would like you to give that to the president of France. We will need him to sport this at every event he goes to going forward. And this way we believe you are truly Pan-African. But what does positive Pan-Africanism mean? Are you throwing shade at Pan-Africanists and suggesting that there's negativity? Are you throwing shade at the Sahel? You see what I say about this man looking for every opportunity to shade the people. What is a positive Pan-Africanist? Bro, you want us to, there's a video I'm dropping today where I'm going to go down the list of the things that have happened in history with this country. Please don't do that. Don't patronize the people. That's why I keep saying, I don't know what these leaders are saying to you. That is not the reality on ground. And we hope you're listening to this. Anyway, there have been many times we've spoken about this. I don't think Macron cares. But finally, it's basically him being desperate. That is a cry. The Sahel has kicked him out. The Francophone countries have kicked him out. Now you're going to the east of Africa. You're looking at the Anglophone countries. Of course, we know the Nigerian president is your buddy. You're just desperate, and we get it. I mean, without Africa, France is nothing. So there it is.
There it is. So I'm going to, because I said all I had to say about that one. We are going to move into Sovereign Media's coverage because obviously, you guys might remember African Stream, who, obviously was unceremoniously kicked off all platforms and removed from the internet and had just gone from existence as is. But the team is resilient. They found other paths forward. And Ahmed Caballo, is now with Sovereign Media, and he is speaking to the events surrounding the march in Nairobi against that Africa Forward Summit that was widely referred to as the France-Africa Summit. The demonstration brought together Kenyans alongside international delegates and activists from countries including Britain, France, Greece, and South Korea, and show in solidarity and support against imperialism, foreign interference, and continued political and economic domination of Africa by former colonial powers and their allies. So the protesters marched peacefully through Nairobi carrying anti-imperialist and Pan-Africanist messages, condemning what they see as France's long history of exploitation across the African continent through military intervention, police interference, and extractive economic policies and neo-colonial agreements that continue to keep many African nations dependent, something they seem eager to replicate in Kenya. So I'm going to play this video from Ahmed telling you what happened on that day, because there were some arrests, and particularly a camera person from the Sovereign Media team. But let's play this video and we'll have some more commentary on the other side.
I sum up what happened today. We actually had 3 pista cameras, one at the start of the march, one in the middle, one when it got violent. But because our camera operator has been arrested and with her equipment has been seized, we don't have that footage to show you. So let me try to sum it up. The protest started off peaceful at the United Kenya Club. There was international delegates. There were people from Southeast Asia, from Europe, from North America, all in attendance alongside Kenyans here in Kenya. March to the Dedan Kimathi statue in the central business district. Before they could get there, they were stopped by police. Firstly, it was 1 or 2 officers and they started to try push the crowd back. The crowd tried to continue to march peacefully. Then they called for reinforcements. And so many officers then joined. And then immediately they started firing tear gas. And once the tear gas started to fill the air with thick smoke, that is when they started to beat people and arrest people. So as I mentioned, my camera operator has been arrested, but also some international delegates. A British citizen has been arrested. A French citizen that we've captured on camera has been arrested, as well as several comrades from the Communist Party, Marxist Kenya. So you got to ask yourself, if Emmanuel Macron can come here, to jog in the streets, then why can't Kenyans in Kenya, alongside their international comrades and delegates, march peacefully in a so-called democratic state?
Well put, Ahmed. So your thoughts, Gloria, on this occurrence?
Yeah, as I've said to Ahmed Kabalo, I dropped a comment. I said, you are whoever you think you are and more. Shout out to him. Shout out to Sovereign Media. Shout out to that camera operator. Thankfully, she's been released. But yeah, just the audacity of it all. And here's a man, specifically Emmanuel Macron, claiming to be Pan-Africanist, yet you're suppressing the rights of people to actually protest your involvement in governance in Kenya or any part of Africa. People are telling you, listen to the people. If you truly care about the people, you would listen. But you don't care about the people. You only care about your interests. So therein lies the proof.
Yeah, and I think this is really sad to see that they didn't allow people to protest because, you know, look, we've seen this over and over again. The people of Kenya are fed up, and it doesn't ever seem like any of these summits or events have any direct impact on helping them progress and move forward. You know, platitudes and lines and one-liners are all used all the time, but the people on the ground never feel it. And it just gets worse. I will say shout out to Kenya and Kenyans for focusing on the people who are actually causing the disruption in their country and leading to the challenges that they have in country, and not blaming other Africans. That's a conversation that we were having over the last couple of weeks. I think it's really important that they understand to draw their attention and face who it is that they're actually dealing with here. And I guess this is why their protests get knocked out with tear gas and smoke, and protests in South Africa against other Africans police officers allow them to be beating people, etc. I know that's not the point of this particular video in this conversation, but since we don't have the time to get into that particular story, there are videos, and we will maybe cover some of the follow-ups and things that have been happening since the last couple of weeks. So Michael is saying we must decolonize our people across the diaspora or on the continent, right? I mean, just everywhere. You need to decolonize our minds for sure. The fact that, you know, these people were arrested, tear gassed, beaten when they're peacefully protesting a summit. You know, you could see them as disruptors, maybe, but at the end of the day, they did not enter into the building. They did not bring weapons in the building. So why treat them as if they have? Because that was the way the treatment happened of them. To your earlier note about Macron mocking Mali and Burkina Faso, Niger, and other places, you know, at every chance he gets, you know, there are tensions right now, and there is some conversations about, you know, mobilizing terror against what's happening in France, or what's happening in the Sahel region, and a lot of it is being blamed on France. There are a couple videos in this block that we want to go through. We will try to get through them quickly. I will play this video of of the military government rallying in public support as violence spreads in the country. Thousands gathered for pro-army demonstrations after a wave of deadly attacks blamed on the JNIM terrorists, reportedly unalived dozens across central and northern Mali. At the same time, French President Emmanuel Macron has reignited debate over Mali's post-France security trajectory, arguing the situation has deteriorated since French forces withdrew from Sahel in 2022. That has been his analysis of the situation. So we'll play a video and have some commentary on the other side.
And moving on to our next story, Mali is standing tall in the face of escalating violence. Supporters of Mali's armed forces are rallying behind the government, even as the violence across rural Mali continues to spread. This was the scene over the weekend at the Mamadou Konet Stadium in the capital city of Bamako. The rally was organized by groups close to the government as the military tries to protect national unity after the most serious assault on the state in more than a decade. Supporters wrapped in national colors chanted against foreign interference and called for direct civilian mobilization behind the military. And the message was clear. The state is wounded, but the people are standing behind it.
We are here to call for a coalition with the military. We want to go to the battlefields. Let them find a way to put us alongside the soldiers in the field.
Today, it's no coincidence that I'm here with a broom. It means something among us women. We are going to sweep away the enemies within and without. We are going to curse all the stateless people.
Now, it says a lot that civilians are willing to risk their lives and asked to actually fight alongside military personnel when it's clear that 15,000 soldiers, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, have been attacking many parts of Mali to try to take out Goita. And so I think it's important to just reflect on that a little bit. But anyway, your thoughts Gloria, on this particular video and what's been happening.
Yeah, it reminds me of what happened in Burkina Faso, or what happens from time to time in Burkina Faso when people come out to actually defend the government and basically speak up against any foreign interference. It's obviously the same thing we're seeing in Mali. And of course, you know, Western media is going to say it's propaganda. They're doing it. They're forcing the people to come out and say it's a lot bigger than that. Out beyond the Sahel, we've seen the sentiments across Africa. We've seen the sentiments across the diaspora, the African diaspora, which is outside the continent. We've seen the sentiments of people who choose to align with people who are about the sovereignty of Africa. So this isn't a thing. And of course, this takes us to the videos we played previously. And I think it's just such a great time. Obviously coincidence, but beautiful timing. You know, you see the people basically supporting anything that's in support of their sovereignty. They're in support of it because they know what they have been through in the hands of France. They know the suppression of their the exploitation, the extraction of their resources, their own suppression, the suppression of their sovereignty. They know what has happened in history to their leaders. So yes, Macron, this is the proof. It's about the people. And while you're out there busy shading Sahelian leaders, the people largely support them, not just in that region, but throughout the continent.
Yeah, well put. In the interest of time, I will get right into the next story, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. One other thing that we want to mention is that the Mali's military government says that there was a says that the coordinated attacks of April 25th were not merely terrorist assaults, but part of an attempted coup designed to assassinate President Assimi Goïta and destabilize the state. Officials claim that unalivement vehicles were meant to strike strategic sites, including Goïta's residence in Kati. The government is now saying that the conflict as a foreign-backed hybrid war, accusing unnamed external actors and Ukraine of supporting terrorism in the Sahel. Meanwhile, violence linked to the Al-Qaeda-affiliated JNIM group is spreading towards Bamako, raising fears that Mali's conflict is moving closer to the heart of the capital itself. So we're going to play a video and we'll have some more commentary on the other side.
Mali's military government has now openly admitted that the coordinated attacks on the 25th of April were not just a terror attack, but an attempted coup aiming to decapitate the state. On Thursday, Malian Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop says that the attacks were designed to hit the highest levels of the state. According to state intelligence, the plan was to reportedly ram suicide vehicles into multiple strategic sites simultaneously, including the residence of President Assimi Goïta in Kati and the home of Defense Minister Sadio Kamara. Now, Kamara did not survive the assault. The Malian government is framing this as a conspiracy involving global powers, accusing unnamed foreign backers and even Ukraine of providing the logistical support to terrorists in the Sahel.
Thoughts on that, Gloria?
You know what would be very Pan-African of France and all these countries that have been accused of these allegations? What would be really Pan-African? It's like what happened with the Rwandan trauma of 1994. You know, Macron himself commissioned a panel to do some research in it, and they came out, and France bore responsibility for the events leading to what happened in Rwanda. Same thing should apply here, because this is, I mean, if you're disputing it, then that's your reputation. So I expect France to put up a panel and do their investigating and prove and show us where these arms are indeed coming from. Prove it. Prove that you are not, involved in these allegations.
Yes, exactly. And we do know that, and I think I mentioned this on our last live stream, that in 2023, the Ukraine did admit to giving intelligence to one of these jihadist groups right, who attacked Malian soldiers and unalived a number of them. They openly admitted that. So I don't think it's any stretch that they likely had something to do with this. I think this is just a much bigger event and a larger number of unalivements in so many more areas of the country. I'm not too sure they want to take responsibility for that publicly like they did on one single attack. We're talking about 15,000 soldiers and troops across multiple areas of the country causing irreparable damage, right? So, you know, it's obviously been alleged that it's them. It's not a stretch to think that it was them. It's just difficult to ever hear from them to say that it was. With that being said, on that note, Mali, Russia, and Russia launch a major offensive as Bamako faces blockade threat. This was something that we had mentioned the other day, but they have launched a major counteroffensive after the coordinated attacks that actually shocked the country last month. Authorities claim that hundreds of terrorists have been taken out, even as the JNIM-linked fighters reportedly expand their campaign toward highways and trade routes feeding the capital. So cargo traffic is slowing, food supplies are tightening, and fears of economic disruption are growing. Russia's Africa Corps insists that the situation is under control, and we will play this video to give you some more insight into what is happening.
Mali is no longer just being fought in remote deserts or military outposts. It is now moving toward highways, trade routes in the capital itself. Now, as the security crisis escalates, Mali's military government is now saying that it has launched a major counteroffensive following the coordinated attacks of the 25th of April. At a press briefing in Bamako, military officials claimed hundreds of terrorists were killed, with motorcycles and vehicles destroyed or captured during operations across the country.
Thoughts, Gloria, on this?
You know, when I think of, I'm going to digress real quick, the Nigerian election of 2023, and when you think of the leaders that came out to congratulate the president, Ukraine was actually one of the countries. And I was taken aback because here you are claiming, you know, coming out to say Russia is doing XYZ to you. And this was an election that was highly debated, and you were one of the few to come out and congratulate, meaning you did not even acknowledge the people. So you see what I say about when, you know, no matter how imperfect a government is of any country, of course, when it comes to their domestic policies and things like that, we're not speaking on that right now. But from a Pan-African point of view, a country like Russia has been much kinder to Africa than these other countries have been. And of course, Ukraine has also had its own allegations when it comes to Russia as far as Africa is concerned. But what you see this thing of a coup plot, I mean, it's not the first case. And it just, you know, it just makes you wonder who is really for Africa. I mean, obviously we know. And this is what I say to people who are for Pan-Africanism. You have to believe people what they tell you or show you the first time, in the words of Maya Angelou. You have to believe them. When they show you who they are, you absolutely have to believe them the first time.
100%. Yeah, I mean, look, it's unfortunate that, well, I'm glad we're waking up. Let's say this. I'm glad we're waking up and people are becoming more aware of who's inciting this violence, who's giving intelligence, and what the purpose is, right? So it doesn't have to be seen as conspiracy theory, but really you can follow the thread logically. And so, you know, what I'd like to see is other countries on the continent step in to assist as well. I know that there were a lot of countries talking about coming together to try to stop the military leaders of the AES from staying in power, and that obviously never happened. But the fact that they even talked about it, they talked about having a proactive force, and many West African countries, the ECOWAS, were supposed to be sending soldiers. and they actually had a number of different meetings in Accra and a few other places. This is on the previous administration in Ghana, to potentially figure out how they would approach this. I wish, and how they would approach those leaders as opposed to approaching these terrorists. I wish they'd take that same energy and military to approach the terrorists than they do wanting to remove leaders that the people want from power. Yeah, those are my thoughts there. I know we are limited on time. I really wish that we could get through more stories today, because there are some stories. I watched some videos of further protests in South Africa this week, which have been alarming to say the least. But do you have any final words, Gloria, before we go?
Yeah, I just want to read this comment by Jada. Our leaders are so quick to offer to send troops to fight for the country that cannot be named, but nobody's saying anything, but not ECOWAS, not African Union. They're just hoping that the AES fails. I think that, and that also covers what you just said. But anyway, like you said, I'm happy everybody's waking up. Please keep supporting us, share, subscribe, like, comment, send it to somebody. The more, that's the only, we're not asking for a gate fee. This is all we ask, so that we're encouraged to keep doing what we're doing. But we appreciate you so much for your support thus far.
Yes, thank you for your support. And, for your continued commentary on the live stream. We appreciate you guys, and we look forward to being back here next week to give you more of what's going on the continent. So with that, thanks for watching. See you all in the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Oh, sorry, did not end the stream.